What's happening, Mr. Mark Willie? I see you're hanging out in some basement in some barn in the middle of somewhere nowhere.
Yeah, we got a little barn shop action, and Dave, your background is all switched up over by there, looking good.
Man, we have been from Jersey to Alabama to Atlanta, hanging out with some country music singers. I got to tell you about that. That was fun. Then we went over and we hung out with Ken Semler in South Carolina. That was just yesterday. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. Yeah. Now we're back in New Jersey for the holiday break, just to hang out with some family and get our family vibe on.
You know, Dave, in the words of the Blues Brothers, I like both kinds of music, country and western.
That's right. That's right. Hey, you know what you get when you play country music backwards, Mark?
Oh man, Dave, what do you get when you play country music
You
backwards?
get your truck back, you get your guns back, you get your girlfriend back, you get your life back, basically, is what they say.
Your dog's healthy, and the crops in the field are a flowing, aren't they?
That's it. That's it. Well, listen, we got a fun show for you guys today. This is it's always fun when we're talking about education. It's a fun way to wrap out the year in education. However, before we jump into that, our big announcement, you got to make sure that you and the kids join us next Friday for a reading of a Dr. Seuss book of Mark's choosing, and we'll find out. But you got to show up. It is kid friendly. We will have fun, and who knows, Mark may actually be dressed up in something.
Yeah, I'm gonna put on a beard or something, Dave.
You got one? I'll lend you mine. I'll
Yeah,
lend
there
you
you
mine.
go. Uh,
Well, how about
so
yourself? Where are you in the world, Mark? You can't tell us. You can't give us GPS coordinates. None of that. You're pulling a Steve Basic on us.
I'm on your laptop, your telephone, your desktop, or your tablet. Yeah. And most importantly, I'm on Dave Cooper Live.
Dave Cooper live. That's right. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So tell them, Mark, you guys got to get your tweets on because we're now live on Twitter, and we've been on Twitter now for a couple weeks, and it's starting to get a little bit of traction, which is fun.
Yep. And when Greg Ugaldi turned us on to Twitch, it's really nice to get the comments from the people of Twitch and also
Yeah.
the comments on YouTube. It's really neat because you and I are very active on LinkedIn. But
Yeah.
those other platforms, let's just face it, they attract a different group. Every group has their calling.
Well, that's it. And we need to reach out to more people. We can't just keep talking amongst ourselves. And that is what our next guest has been doing and does for a living. So it's going to be a lot of fun to bring him on. So I got a little bit of write up because I think this is important. Everybody knows our next guest. And Mark, I'll let you do the after the monologue intro here. But Taylorville High School building trades instructor, Matt Blomquist, and his high school students are crushing it. Check out the epic achievements that we are going to talk about with the next generation of high performance home builders and what they are achieving right here on today's show. They do hands-on learning and understanding the economics of market rate housing and building it better. And that's all I'm going to give because Mark's going to do this intro because Matt deserves an intro from a guy with a big beard, and Mark's the only guy with a big beard I know. So that's who's going to do the intro. Go for it, Mark.
I was blessed to meet Matt before the whole pandemic start. Matt and I met, and then we met in person at the Midwest Building Science Symposium. So I was connected by Stephen Basic, who is the architect on the current project that he's working along with Alexandra, and you all know these folks. But along the way, I was able to visit job sites where some of his former students were actually working. So why is this important? This is important because during high school, there's a chance to learn, in many cases, more than what's actually happening in the construction world. There's advancements that's happening. So there's students in Taylorville, Illinois, that are performing high performance builds for the community, for their education, and for those around them. And it's being led by Matt Blomquist, phenomenal teacher, a wonderful friend. So please meet Matt and follow his example.
What is happening, Mr. Matt? Let me switch you guys around so we can make you the center of attention here. Welcome back. You know what, Matt? I have to say, for the first time in my life, I am I am jealous of you. And when I say that, I'm jealous of you in many ways, but you're sitting in a space that most people wish they could be sitting in, Mark included. We're always playing around with technical difficulties, but man, I hope we can show that to the folks watching one of these days. But before we do that, Matt, why don't you take 2 minutes, give us a quick update, tell the new people in our audience who you are, what you've been up to, how you're helping the youth become better, and joining our awesome field of construction. And you know the deal, man. Don't leave out any of the good stuff, because I know Diane Willie is watching, Mark's mother. I see a heart love already came through from her. So Diane, if you're watching, in fact, Mark, we're going to bring Diane on the show next Friday. You tell Diane she's coming on for the Cat in a Hat reading. But first, we're going to hear from Matt Blomquist.
Go yeah. Hey, guys, thanks for the introduction. Sorry, the voice is a little raspy. It's been a wild couple of weeks here. One of my stepdaughters won the state championship basketball, 7th grade. So we've been up in Mark's area watching basketball, and this is midterm week, so it's all winding down. So one reason Dave is so jealous is because currently I am at the high school, which I'm rarely at the high school anymore because I'm always on the job site. But I'm in the high school in our media department, so I'm sitting in a actual TV studio. Lots of cool gadgets and lights, and so I look so good right now because the lights are set just right. So that's probably one reason.
Just a lot of cool gadgets. It's the coolest gadgets, man. Go for it. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but let's not underestimate where you're at. Yeah.
It's we got editing room over there, big old screen TVs on the wall. It's a cool thing. So that's one other cool things. They're doing awesome. Our media department's doing awesome. Our ag department's doing awesome. Our building trades is doing awesome. All these hands-on opportunities for the students. If you guys watched the last episode when I was on with you guys, we talked about how the program works, what we're doing. We put a big emphasis. If you guys don't know that are watching, my students and I build a house from the foundation to the trim. And when we relaunched the program that started back in '69, we relaunched it back here in 2019 before COVID. And we put a big emphasis on high performance building, better building practices, paying attention to how our materials work with each other, air sealing, thermal breaks, you name it. We're trying to air exchanges. We own a blower door kit. We're trying to show the kids not only how to do these things, but why you do these things and how to make sure you did do these things, right? Jake Bruton always says, trust but verify. So we test what we're doing to make sure. We are currently on our 28th build of the program. I got some pictures and stuff I can show as we get going and stuff, kind of where the build's at. We've also, one big thing I did was kind of did a digital twin as we're going through this process to help as a teaching tool, which I know we're going to talk about today. And yeah, Midwest weather has been okay so far. So it's probably why people got head colds now. It's not a COVID thing. It's because it goes 60 for 3 days and drops down to 35 for 3 days and goes back to 60. So nobody's head knows what to do. So things are going good here. The weather's cooperated for the most part. And I think every teacher in the building and student in the building is ready, though today is the last day, 2:30. All you're going to see is backs and elbows running out the door. So
Oh, I'm sure. The holidays are great for everybody. It's great to get along and get together with family, but it's also, for the kids. I mean, they just love it. They get a couple weeks off from school, and no offense, they're teachers, and they get to just chill out and wait for old Saint Nick or whoever else they believe in to come and visit them, and really it's more about family time. And you know what, the storms are amazing. I don't know, Mark, if I even told you, we were just south of all those tornadoes that came through. We were in Alabama, right on the Alabama-Tennessee border that night it came through. Don't want to be in a motorhome when that stuff happens. I can tell you, it was an interesting evening for sure. But I can relate, Matt, to the weather. And but you know what? Hey, you're in a cold place to begin with, so that's just the way it goes. So Matt, I think what's so inspiring about having you on the show, and I know Mark's itching to get into this, is you're just so passionate about not only teaching the younger generation about how to build it better, right? But also how to build it better using building science. and understanding the science. So you've aligned yourself differently than some other trades schools have, or trade professors out there have, or teachers. And you've aligned yourself with people like, Stephen Basic, Matt Reisinger, Mark Willey. You come on this show, and I think that's what makes you a little bit different. And I believe that's what's going to give your students a leg up in this world amongst so many of these other schools.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan. I was very fortunate when we started this back up. I hadn't really done much on Instagram. We had started the class that we were here at the school. We started remodeling the wood shop. So I started sharing kind of what we're doing. Well, that got me connected to other shop teachers around the country. Heck, even around the world. We're connected in Canada and Australia and I think Finland. And so, yeah, shout out to the Shop Class Podcast guys and gals. Mark's been on there, jumps on there a lot Wednesday nights. But at the same time, like Steve and Jake and all those guys, it kind of seemed like that's when they were really coming onto the scene. Actually, like even the building science, I feel like it just started picking up on Instagram. Like at that time, Steve Basic, who I think is at well over 10,000 followers. I mean, at that time, he may have only been like around 3,000 or something. Same with Jake, just a couple thousand, and he had Steve made a post, and I just reached out, and he liked the idea. And we were just getting ready to relaunch the house program, and he reached out, said, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And the rest was history. I met up with Jake, who's just 3 hours away, and we both went to school there in Columbia, Missouri, where he's from, and they've been great. I mean, connected me to all the network. It's awesome. So
yeah,
it just keeps on going.
That's what it's all about. Mark, either the cat's got your tongue in that barn, you just swallowed a mouse, or you're just holding back to unleash a fury of wind. So let's hear it. What you got going on, man?
It's more. I get to talk to Dave and I get to talk to Matt so much. Matt and I are constantly collaborating, and let's face it, our networks are really tight. This is a small world, and Dave's right. I've so much to say on it. First and foremost, I think we're blessed by these platforms of LinkedIn and all the outpouring of people in the architecture, engineering, manufacturing, and construction space for pure and open collaboration. It's the foundation for success. 2 minds are better than 1, 3 minds are better than 2, and on and on. Then you get into Instagram, different platform than LinkedIn. And rather than Dave's neighbor showing him the latest project they did, or Matt showing a student one thing, or like Alexander Basic showing another detail, rather than us showing it to one person or a group of 3 people for teaching and collaboration moment, now that same exercise is replicated by these platforms. And I mean, shoot, Dave, when I met Matt at the Midwest Building Science Symposium that we promoted together with Travis and Joe.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I bumped into the very first person. Matt was there minutes later. I bumped into Mike Gerton, and he's iconic. He's like everyone's wish they had an uncle or a neighbor or a teacher like Mike, but we all got to know Mike virtually through magazines, Fine Home Building. And then when you meet him, what does Mike say, Dave? He says, "I know your name. I know your face. Hey, what's your IG handle?" And before I could say it, he spit it out. He's like, the Willie Woodwork, but it's that community that comes from it. And I tell you, if we had something even close to that in our high school years, I think it would. I'd probably be younger today, right? But I think it would be an added. There you go, Dave. An added transformation for the AEC and manufacturing community. You're a leader in the space, Matt, and I'm glad we met well beyond that platform in real settings.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, Matt, I know we got a lot to cover here. We're going to talk about digital twins. We're going to talk about all the great stuff you and your students are doing. And we'll round it up talking about your trip to the International Builders Show. So you're going to be there as well. So if people need to connect with Matt, he will be at the International Builders Show, as will myself. And if I got to drag Mark Willie by his ankles, he will be there as well, or by his beard. The beard would be more funny. We'll do it like caveman style. Some people call it Gangnam style, right? That dance, Gangnam style. We're going to call it caveman style with Mark. But I mean, I think first, Matt, let's make this about the students now. Let's get into the work they're doing. Tell us where you are. Like you said, we were working on that house last time we spoke. What's the big picture and where are we going?
Yeah, so we pretty much were buttoned up. We will sub out our shingling just because putting that many kids up on a roof is chaotic, and you already got harnesses, and everyone that's been on a roof knows the logistics of that. So shingles could get put on over Christmas break, and if any of the kids want to come out and work with those guys, they're more than welcome to. But so we're shedding water. Right now, we're just we use zip bar on the house, so it's a big green box with a red lid on it at the moment. We did a hybrid foundation, so we have a crawl space inside with a slab on the outside. If you guys watched, Jake and Steve did a project similar to that, and we just pretty much went straight kind of from what they did, just as a crawl space, so it's not as deep. We put down rock wool insulation. Dan Edelman from Rock Wool and a few other people were just here on site with the kids. Did a live install, putting the comfort board up the side of the crawl space walls. And we also
just had
put
him on the show last Friday. So if you want to know what that is, you can watch last Friday's show with Sean St. Omore and myself. Sorry, Matt, didn't mean to interrupt you, but Rockwool's some cool stuff. And I really like them.
Very good. And Rockwool's been very generous to us, both last build and this build. And, those guys all flew in from wherever and came and hung out with us and spent a day with the kids. And we did the install, put comfort bat in the garage walls. We'll have blown in cellulose in the other wall, the house walls, just because we use T-stud. So we're going to fill those cavities in that void. Yep. T-stud. And then we, thanks to Mark's networking as well, we threw down Halo Subterra under two layers of 2-inch underneath of our subfloor, which is a Vantech 2 layers, staggered seam, turn the sheets 90 degrees to each other and screw and glue that all together. So we have now started putting on the ceiling strapping, and we will, right when the kids get back from school, we will start working on getting the drywall up so we can do our first blower door test. And I believe we're going to have special guests of names like Jake Bruton, Travis Brungart, some of Jake's, I think Brad that works for Jake may tag along. There's some other Missouri, Kansas City builders that we've hung out with at the Midwest Buildings Science Symposium that I think may tag along. So we may have a fun little group when we do our first blower test that will test pretty much the envelope. There's no windows in there yet, cutouts. There's no hole. Well, hopefully there's no holes, right? We'll go find them. So we got thermal imaging camera, so that they're going to chase down the leaks. We'll do our first test, and then thanks to Mark's network again, we got a nice little connection with our windows. That we should have some really nice windows coming in. In fact, a few of them are getting dropped off today.
What windows are those? Can you say?
Say that, Dave.
What windows are they? Are you allowed to say?
Well, it's from Doug. How do you say Doug's last name, Mark? Is it Prowse?
Doug Prest of Midwest Efficiency Supply.
Yeah. And I apologize. I forget the brand of the window offhand. I'd have to look it up. It wasn't a brand I've ever used before. I apologize.
He represents numerous brands. So it's specific to what's needed for the project, right? Versus, sometimes people say, I got a guy, and then you really got a brand. But when you have something tailored to the project, that was what Matt was looking for, is a solution specifically project-based. Brilliant.
Yeah. So he's coming. He'll be on the job site at some point doing a window install with the kids. And then right after semester kicks off, Mark Willie and Bob Kelly are making the drive down from upstate Illinois. And
flashing time.
Bob from Wick Wright they're going to be working with the kids on the rain screen. So
So
That's
so
what we got.
Dave is going to be he's going to be abroad, so he can't join us. But when you go and do that blower door, maybe if Dave's schedule works out, you could have him over, Matt, because Dave is an air sealing specialist.
Mhm.
I'm a boss.
Oh yeah, there you go. An air boss.
An air boss.
You worked with Sega, right, Dave? Right?
I
Sega?
did. I went and took
We got
Seager.
Sega products on the
Yeah.
build. Yeah.
Yeah.
Etienne. Thanks to
With
Etienne.
Etienne, and I'll be seeing a lot to Etienne January 15th and that whole week as we do a Switzerland tour.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Manufacturing, we're going to do panelization, we're going to do modular, we're going to do some windows, I believe, and some other stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's with Matt Reisinger and quite a few others.
You know, in terms of screen share, Dave, Matt was talking about the layup. So rather than concrete, they're doing a double layer of insulation and a double layer of Advantech. Matt, is that on your Instagram where we could do a screen share of those photos?
Yep, it's on my Instagram. I mean, if I'm able, I don't know if I'm able to screen share with you guys.
Yeah. Just at the bottom, there's a little plus symbol says share.
Okay. I can pull up.
Yeah, I was. It's funny you said that, Mark. I was going to ask the same thing. We never really talked about doing the cross diagonal plywood. Laying the Advantech and what the advantages of doing that really means. I know what it means, but I think it'd be really good for a lot of people out there that don't understand the pros of what happens with that.
Yeah,
so it's ready to go when you tell me, Matt. I can put it up.
Okay, let me pull up some pictures. You may see some photos of basketball state championships here, but let me.
All right, that's why you also lost your voice, right? Check for your daughter and her classmates.
I haven't had a voice in like 2 weeks. Okay, so I got the foundation, if you show my screen now.
There it is.
Okay, you guys seeing the eye joist span across there and everything?
Yeah.
Picture?
Yep. Take us through that whole thing, because first, before we get into the Otis unique, Dave, is in the middle of the house. There's actually joists and a space down below. And we even came up with a name for that the other day, Matt. But most people aren't used to this. So what will be on top, Dave, is the access to the bathrooms and the kitchen. So the core of the most water, right, and mechanical. But Matt, tell us about the special part below and everything involved in that.
All right, yeah. Let's see. What we're gonna try to hashtag this as the tornado crawl space.
Yeah, the tornado safe space or something like that. Yeah,
we are the Taylorville Tornadoes, and hearts out to everyone's affected by the storms. We literally just went through this same scenario 2017, about almost to the date. Our town got hit directly by a tornado. In fact, the last house we built on was the lot we received it because the house got wiped out from a tornado. So for us to have a shelter is still important. So for this solves many problems, right? The way Steve Basic has laid out this house, the bathrooms and laundry room are all right above this crawl space. So all the plumbing goes down. When we come up, the walls are also over the top of this. So we can run our piping, venting straight up through the walls, up out to the roof.
Yeah.
The only plumbing that we had to put in underneath the slab that goes off to the sides of this is one drain line to the kitchen sink. And then we have sleeves. We have sleeves put in for a water line for our fridge. And then, of course, for the kitchen sink as well. So all the plumbing, everything is right into that cavity. Now, for us, we access it through I guess we will call it a pit in the garage. We'll have just like a safety ladder. You crawl down in it. Steve had made the suggestion. People like to be able to crawl all the way down, duck in, and go into the crawl space rather than, shimmy yourself into it. And I was like, that's great. I love it. So there's a little spot in the garage in the corner that you'll take a ladder down. You will have to lift the hatch first, so that way stuff doesn't fall into it. But you can duck right down underneath these floor joists. You still have approximately 4 feet. It is concrete slab. There is a rock wool comfort board underneath of that. Then there is Stego wrap On top of that, the comfort board, we put a perimeter around, so that it's a thermal break from concrete to the concrete wall. Then Jeff from Pasload came down, and with Dan and those who used to work with Dan and those guys from Rockwell, they came down. They I'll zoom in so you guys can kind of see here. Brought the cool Ramset gun to put these cool little washers, plastic washers on there, and shoots into the concrete. Made things go quick. The kids loved it. Then on the sides, we have you can see our Halo Subterra. Thank you to those guys for partnering with us as well. That was quite awesome. Again, Mark, thanks for that connection. We did 2 layers. That's 2-inch of their Subterra 25. That 25 or 25 PSI. And when you walk on it, that is some impressive stuff. It is super light. It's super strong. It doesn't snap. It does not compress. Now, if you put your knee into it, it may cause a little knee dimple, but you just walk across that stuff. It's great. And then you really can't see it in this. Well, you can kind of see we started putting down our layers of Vantech, and we did the 2 layers. Of course, we do nail to the eye joist across the top, and the rest of it's floating. And then we cross-directional and stagger seams, glue, screw, and you have a 1.5-inch thick subfloor, which is why we also were able to space those eye joists at 2 foot on center rather than 16, which kept everything in line with the trusses above. So we know when we send plumbing up, it's going all the way through the roof. If it needs to, nothing's going to be in our way. And it is quite an impressive floor to walk on.
So let me ask you, Matt. So just so I can explain, people that may be joining or may not understand what they're looking at. This is basically a slab on grade with a 4-foot trough in the center of it that is made for storm shelter.
Yep.
Purposes.
Storm shelter
and mechanicals.
And storage. Because once we throw, about 20 inches of insulation up in the attics, nobody wants to crawl around that anymore, right? That's right. There's plenty of room. This is approximately 10 feet wide. It didn't need to be 10 feet wide to service what we needed, but we went ahead and made it a little wider. So put your stuff in Rubbermaid bins. So that way, if you ever have a water line burst, it's protected, but easy to get in. The door that you get into is, I don't know, just shy of 4x4. So there's plenty of room. It's very accessible. Like I said, don't get me wrong, you're not going to go in and out of it every day. It's not like walking up and down steps, but very accessible.
I do like the fact that that you also created it a bit wider, because when you go and make the connections and put the equipment in and out, it just makes the breathing room and the space for the professional installs to handle it. And then, like you said, you can get a Christmas tree, this, that, or the other in there, and everyone's happy. It's such a clean and well sequenced job site. So Dave, obviously they knew the photograph was happening here, but more importantly, let's face it, we have high school students that return to school, late August, and here we are at Christmas time, and this is the progress of this high performance build. Really impeccable. And the timing is, I would say, super, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the other problem that solved was on the last house. So we encapsulated the last crawl space, and it was just traditional. We used ICF forms, I-joist, subfloor, pretty traditional build for this area with a crawl space. Well, we don't get the roof covered as fast. Like this house, professional framing crew, framing it, getting it covered, and at least shedding water, you're going to do well under a month on a 1,600 square foot house. They're going to knock it out, right? Well, we just got completely under roof, a week or 2 ago. So we've had a lot of rain come through, and that happened to us the last house. Well, we had, since it's unvented crawl space or anything, it never dried out. So we were having mold issues underneath. So we had to actually treat, remediate and seal the other crawl space. Well, when I saw Steve and Jake do this, I was like, oh my God, it solves so many problems. So it's rained on this. We push the water into the sub pump pit, pumps it out the back door. It can rain all day. It don't matter. So In fact, we joked when everybody asked us what the heck we were building. I said an indoor swimming pool.
There you go.
And so it solved this problem. And now it's dry. So, but it's one of those things where no mold issues to worry about during, during construction, water management issues. Took care of that.
Speaking of under roof, and Dave being an air boss, can we maybe show one of the photos of the Monopoly framing with Huber that takes care of that air sealing?
Yeah, let me. I'll stop sharing this one and bring up a new one for you guys here.
And Dave's got some hellos coming while you do that, Matt.
Yeah, we got Buzz in the audience out there. Good to see you, Buzz. He's from Michigan, and we got the survival bunker. Terry Yagi made a comment. Good to see you, Terry. Thanks for joining us. And I put it up earlier. Grant Taylor, bloom me. Merry Christmas, my friends. And of course, Greg Ugaldi's chiming in. And yes, Greg, we have built the schedule for the International Builders Show 5 all-access pass free giveaways. That's right. We got 5 all-access pass free giveaways. And guess who's going to be there? Matt Blomquist is going to be there. Mark Willie, I'm hoping, is going to be there. He's a busy guy. Nailing down his schedule is a little bit like nailing down a rock star schedule. Yeah, I'll be there. And then you're like, well, I got this came up. But we're going to give those away, Greg, and we're going to hit those off all of January and the first week of February. We are going to have show after show of giveaways, and we're going to split these up to trades, to the youth, Matt. So you'll be happy. We're going to give maybe 2 away to some students so they can attend. So we're going to have some fun with it. And Greg Ugaldi's always fun. And Greg, yes, we'll get that out to you too, because I know Greg's going to want to come on the show and share him as he should, because he's the one that helped us set all this up, and we're very grateful for it.
I can't wait for the fact that you're going to be down at IBS and meeting Dave and Jennifer as well, Matt. And hopefully, everyone's schedule at IBS, of course, is quite full. It would be wonderful if you could connect with Greg and y'all can shake hands and put that forward as to what's going on, so the example could be copied. And the good doctor, Brett Musson.
Dr. Brett Musson in the house. Hey, Brett, looking forward to see you. We'll see you in January out in California. I'm looking forward to that. So you want to know one smart dude, that's it right there, man. I'm telling you, he's got a really great way of what he does, and he does a community type assembly build, which is awesome.
Dr.
Awesome.
Musson,
in fact, you should learn about what the good doctor does. I think it's a really cool thing that you could get your students' minds really thinking about.
Sweet.
I was going to say, Dr. Musson, come on out to Taylorville, Illinois, and meet Matt. What is there, 24 students in your program?
Yeah.
26.
26 students in the program. So 2 more join the program.
There you go.
Awesome. All right. Sorry, I see you got your photo up. You ready to get into it, Matt?
Yeah. I'll show a little photo here. So this photo I showed here, just so you guys can kind of see and get some context around what this looked like just before I showed that picture. So there's that pit. You can see the water line, stubbed out. You can see we got some Sega tape over there holding on the Stego wrap and stuff. But that's what it looked like before. So we've had this big pit in here while we're building the house, and so that that's now gone.
What is the ceiling height, so people can get an idea context wise of this space?
Sure. It's 9 foot. We used actual 9 foot, full 9 foot T-studs on this one instead of like a pre-cut size for the main fact that we went and stacked up 5.5 inches on the floor to take away from that 9 foot, the full 9 foot, even though, by the time you factor in your plates and stuff. So it kind of helps off balance. I think by the time you're said and done, I think you're ripping off, you do have to rip a little bit off your drywall at the end, but that's nothing.
Hey, Matt, I had my hand up. I was trying to be a good student and not interrupt you. Let me ask you, can you zoom in? I really want people to understand how these T-studs are used, right? Or maybe you have a different picture that's going to show it. But I know over to the left. Yeah.
I could show a different picture too if this doesn't get it.
because and this isn't a selfish plug for T-Stud and Mark, but it's a selfish plug for T-Stud and Mark. It's a product that really has come up with a solution to cut down on the thermal transfers that are happening from the outside to the inside, right? Natural thermal breaks, Mark. Am I saying that right?
It is. The entire assembly was designed in advance. One, it came from obviously the great architects that we know, Alexandra and Stephen. But then, since Matt's been experienced and included with so many of these great groups to bounce these ideas off, Dave, in addition to the thermal break of the studs themselves, then you went and added a Zip R9, I believe.
Yeah.
To the outside. So, Dave, this is a double thermal break. We get a double going on here.
Yeah. And, the interesting side of this is we had this conversation last week, and, the understanding that, right, because somebody will say, well, you still got to put screws and nails in, right, that breaks through that thermal break. And there is that, but it's so minimal compared to what it is the other way of doing it. You still got to fasten it. And that's the bottom line with it. So
correct.
Outside of that, it is a true thermal break all the way through. Yeah.
And then I may have, let me see. Well, here's the outside of the house. A few weeks ago, we were talking about water management and all that stuff, and creating the shell. So there's the shell of the house. You guys see a little bit of see if I can zoom in enough. See a little bit of gray tape along the bottom. There's our Siga Fentrum tape. To help take
Don't
care
get that
of our.
stuck to you, because it does not come off easy.
No.
Just word to the wise.
we still got to go around our porch right here and get this tight little detail.
Yeah.
But the tape is actually our suspenders in this moment. I'm trying to find another picture here for you guys.
Well, so people understand why you're looking for that picture, right? This tape is flexible too. It moves. So when you put that Ventrum tape on, one, it really stays in place. But all of Siga's tapes, at least as far as I know, and correct me if I'm speaking out of line, they expand and contract with the home, because all home and all wood expands and contracts, which allows that tape to always keep that tight seal and that air barrier in place.
It's a great point, Dave. And also you have different materials. So when you're connecting the Zip R sheathing, the Zip R9 with the concrete, now you have different materials expanding, contracting, and different moisture levels, right? So this step here of that squeegee, that is actually calling for the bond to take place, right, Matt?
Right.
Yep. Pressure sensitive.
Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, I said pressure sensitive.
Well, and think of the bugs you keep out of your house by sealing it up.
Yeah.
The spiders cannot get in there and climb through. Not that you're not going to have any bugs in your house, but I do know, after talking with Matt Reisinger about his house and how he sealed it up, you'd pay hell to find any bugs anywhere inside that house unless they fly through the window.
At the last house, I've killed one spider inside the house. The only spots we ever had spiders is where they can come through the garage. Yeah. And then that's it. Inside the house, there was one spider in 2 years.
That's it. That's
I have a non-building science fact for the first time ever. Do you know, throughout your lifetime, you are never more than 6 feet away from a spider?
Throughout our entire lives.
They're everywhere. And when you die, there's more.
Yeah, they are. Right. I know there was anybody know the statistics on how many you actually eat in your sleep, right? They say that you end up eating. I don't know where we're going with this, but
I keep a list. I'm on my 5th notebook this year.
Yeah, maybe Diane, if you're out there, can you Google that for us and put it up in the chat?
Make sure you guys name all your spiders. Sorry for the distraction, Matt. It's Friday, right?
Hey, let's try a different position on this, and I'm talking about a position on the screen. Let's see if this works for us. Oh, I like the left better. What do you think? You can see more of the picture. There you go.
Yeah, I like the left.
Yeah. So this is just a picture of them installed. I was trying to find. I had a close up somewhere of our wall assembly with the T-studs. I just couldn't find it. But yeah, I mean, it's worked out good. we once we got that taken care of, I just saw pictures of the air baffles. Let me throw that up there. So once taking care of insulation, we're trying to keep air movement, right? So
Dave, this is ingenious. So you Dave, you remember the little foam baffles you put up so that the
they'd always
insulation.
fall down in the attic, laying on.
Get
Yep, I know
crushed.
exactly. And it's painful putting them in too.
Right. And someone's gonna knock them out the way, and
Yep.
and now all you're trying to do isn't there. So air boss style, right? And really low priced. I'm assuming that's Luan, Matt.
That's what it looks like.
Just Luan. Yeah, quarter inch, whatever.
Explain this detail. Obviously, folks, we're looking up at this point. So Matt or one of his students, their feet are on the ground, they're looking up, and tell everyone what they're seeing here.
Okay, so this one I took out of Mike Gurton's book. We just talked about Mike. I saw last year, or the last build, I was like, man, we got to do something better for this situation than those baffles that we talked about. They're just not good. So what we do is we just cap off the ends. We have the raised heel trusses. We just throw scrap pieces of our zip bar sheeting. If it doesn't line up perfectly with the outside, we just tape it. All it is a blockade to keep the insulation from falling out. And then what we did is we just put little 1x2 runners up that go from the top of that up to the wall, up to the underneath of the sheeting. So it goes from open from about 3.5 inches down to 1.5 inches. And then we just cut Luan and tack it on there. And then wherever we got some bigger joints, you can see the little spray foam. We just take spray foam cam and close it up so we don't have any wind washing. But that is our baffle from our soffit up to our ridge. And I sat up in the last attic, and that wind really whips up through there and it does what it's supposed to do. So yeah, it may be a little bit more time consuming process just because you got to cut each one of these sheets down, but it's still nothing too crazy. The kids handle it just fine. It's a simple task. Entry level person on the job site can handle this kind of task, and it works very efficiently. And other than just wood prices being a little higher, it's not the most expensive thing you're going to do either.
Right. It's lasting. You're right. Because at some point, whoever purchases this quality home will move out. Someone else will purchase it, or work will be done by other insulators. This is a lasting approach. This is proper, detailed, and sequenced. And again, the point of today is to note that all this is performed by high school students, detail-oriented, craftsmanship, and delivering for the community.
And one thing, Dave, on this one, the way I did the example, this is where the digital twin actually came in handy. So I did the digital twin on SketchUp and put these into photos, step-by-step photos on like a plan sheet. And that's how the kids were able to reference and understand what they were trying to do. Because other than like 2 of them on job site, they've never seen this before.
So, let's get into the science on this a little bit, right? So, first of all, why are we doing a raised heel? I know why, but I want to hear it from you, Matt, on how you explain it to your kids, the value of the raised heel, the value of that insulation. And then 2, for that second part where the Luan is and you have that gap there, let's explain how important that airflow is coming through the ridge vents on the exterior of the home, and through the E vents on the exterior of the home up through the ridge vent. Let's talk about how that makes a difference in the comfort of your home. But let's first start with this raised heel.
Yeah, so we did a raised heel. Obviously, this is 12 inches. Typically, they are not near that height. As we all know, if you're trying to blow in approximately 20 inches of cellulose, or that, 6 to 8 inches down there is not 20, right? There's a big difference in R value. So now you have at the worst spot possible in your attic, you have the least amount of insulation, right? You're pushed all the way out to the outside. You're right next to the elements on the outside. All you have is that sheeting or whatever it may be right there. So you want to make sure that you can stack extra insulation on there. So we raise that heel up. That gives us that extra insulation. Yes, we are not all the way up to the 20 inches, but we are much better being, having that almost full foot right there. And then as far as once you put the insulation in there, you want it to stay in there, right? So if you got air blowing through, it doesn't have to be as airtight as the rest of the house we're trying to do, but you don't want air blowing through because, all our soffits or eaves are all vented. So wind's coming through there constantly. Well, if the wind's coming through, well, now you're pushing your insulation away from where you want it to be at that very vulnerable, spot as far as getting, having temperature differences go. And so just a little bit of spray foam or caulking, depending on how big your gap is. And now the wind goes up the chute like it's supposed to, up towards the ridge. There you go. Perfect picture.
It's great picture,
you're
Dave.
controlling the wind, right? You're controlling where you want it to go and keeping what you put in place so it stays in place. And simple, inexpensive, but very effective method.
Well, that's it. And in most homes, so everybody understands, where it says raised heel right there on that pink bat insulation, normally that is not raised there. What that means is that piece where you see the arrow running up it on the 2x4, 2x6 or what have you, that would be all the way at the bottom, which leaves you zero area for any insulation or control of anything happening in that corner. And this gives the builder more control to insulate, put the air sealing in place, and make sure it vents properly, which equals a better, more comfortable home for the occupants.
Yeah, and if you live in a house and you get frost in the winter in the corners of the outside of your walls right there, that solves that problem.
Well, not only that, but Dave, this graphic is really good. But the steps further is you have actually a 2x6 wall. And then you have the Zip R9 sheathing. So talk about as much advancements as you could bring forward, especially for your climate zone, is a reminder to everyone. It's doing two things. We are telling the heat in the summertime that you're going to have a hard time coming into this building. So less cooling is needed for the people who end up buying this home. And then in the wintertime, when it's freezing cold outside, it's going to take a lot longer for that cold to penetrate the exterior and get to the inside, meaning you're spending less for the comfort on the interior of your house. So that upfront cost is minimal, but your monthly cost is lower. So, I got to tell you, if I live next door to the people that live in this house built by these high school students, I'm going to bring them a pie. I'm going to bring them some banana bread because I want to hang out in that house in the cold and in the hot days because it's just going to be quiet and comfortable.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. And I think, yes, then Mark, you're right. The photo we showed was just something I got off Google real quick for the example, but the products in that photo is a little bit outdated compared to what we're talking to here when it comes to building science and what we would use. It's more the example of how that heel works and how that airflow works.
That's right. It's a standard code wall, nothing wrong with it. It's it's what you move forward. But today, that high performance, that raised heel, I don't even remember when raised heel came about, but I think even on your last build, Matt, you didn't have a raised heel, right?
It was, but so when I asked for the 12 inch, so they went by 12 inches from the bottom of the cord to the top of the top cord. So it was still, this one is from the actual board that separates the whole thing is approximately 12 inches. So it's from the bottom of the cord to the top of the top cord there. We're talking probably 18 inches, close 16 to 18 inches. So you're getting a full foot. That's plus a few.
That's an important distinction because what we think we're getting and what we think we ask for, everyone agrees to, but we're actually agreeing sometimes on something different.
Yep.
So you have to go through those motions and say, what is the overall height, right? outboard, and then what is my clearance on the inside. So we're actually getting what we're calling for. It does affect your elevation because you might have you probably have a maximum elevation you can achieve. So you want to respect the laws of your municipality, but you also want to maximize your efficiency, and that's what was done here.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All right, listen, if you guys are tuning in and you're not following Matt Blomquist and his students at build_learn_teach, right? That's your Instagram handle, I'm assuming, right?
Yep.
Just to
Yes,
get it
sir.
right. You should be following. Check it out. And not only follow, but support, right? They love the support. They love any product that you can give them. Any way you can support, help these young minds keep growing what they're doing. I think super, super important. And again, you will see Matt at the International Builders Show, the National Association of Home Builders. We're looking forward to that. All right, we're down to just a few more minutes, Matt. So why don't we speed round through the information that we have, unless you're done, but I don't think you're done.
We can go all day. I'm a teacher. That's what we do, right?
He's like,
just
yeah,
talk.
I'm in a professional studio. I'm kind of comfortable here, you know.
Yeah, this is all right. It's kind of drizzly outside. I'm good, guys. We keep on going.
Yeah. Right.
So there was something that flashed up on the screen, Dave, and that's the outpouring of people that so when you're a teacher and you have an advanced program like that, yeah, Andrew Seeley says, great to see Matt Blomquist back on Peter Molinar dropping the PH Friday on building science. So the outpouring of people and the programs involved. So there was Harbor Freight Tools for Schools every year has a program that Matt issued Taylorville into to see if they could possibly get one of the awards this year. So Taylorville didn't receive the award this year. A couple of Matt's friends, in fact, did receive the award. So all the folks that won, keep using it for good and passing it to those generations because you're doing great work and you deserve those awards. Yeah. But over and above, what Harbor Freight Tools for Schools did is they said, we really like the program you're doing, and you weren't selected in the raffle or however they pick it, but then they turned around and gifted you something anyway.
Yeah. So last year was the first year I applied, last year, and then I didn't make it as a finalist. They sent me $100 gift card to Harbor Freight. So there's the Harbor Freight stores and there's Harbor Freight Tool Schools, the philanthropy program that they've created, and they give away millions of dollars every year. Like, this is no joke. Any teachers out there that are involved in tech ed, ag, building trades, whatever you name it, if it falls under that umbrella, get on there, apply. It's a rigorous application. Like, they put you through the ringer. You're going to spend hours on this, probably a solid 8 hours once you combine it all together. But you're up for a chance to win $100,000 or $50,000. And if you win $100,000, assuming your school district allows it or your state laws, the teacher gets $30,000 personal check. If you win the $50,000, teacher gets a $15,000 personal check, and the rest of the money goes into your program. And it is written up so it can only be spent on your program. So your school district cannot take it and dish it out anywhere else. It can only be spent on you and your program.
That's awesome.
So very cool. Awesome thing. This year, I was very fortunate. I made it to as a finalist. So there were 61 finalists out of around 700 entries.
That's amazing. 700 entries. That alone tells you, because that's time you put in to do that application outside of your hours. That's the devotion of the teachers for their school, for their students, for the community. So 700 and some odd. Got it.
Yeah. And so every finalist that did it become a grand prize winner, they sent $1,000 worth of gift cards to use at Harbor Freight, which I never really shopped at Harbor Freight before, just never have. And I went there. If you guys are looking for some awesome temporary job site lights, I think it's Braun brand. The LEDs they're like $90. Yeah. 2 of those lights up that whole facility or our whole job site. What else we pick up? I can't remember. I don't know. I only spent about half of it and just picked up a bunch of we all have those lists of things. It's like, I should buy it, but I don't want to spend the money. Well, the money was free, so I went and bought it and got it. And picked up, one of their brands of a shop vac to have on the job site.
Sure.
Very cool.
Just those little things that you just always like, I'll just bring it from home or whatever. And they are amazing. Anybody out there, take the time. I think the applications open up in March. I believe you just kind of get on there and watch. And then they give you a pretty generous amount of time. And then in the summer, you find out, if you're a finalist, and then October is when they announce whoever won. So very cool.
Here's the other thing, Dave. So Matt and his friends that entered this, they turned around and posted all over social media a chance for other shop class teachers to win instead of them. They shared the news rather than hide it under a bushel theory, right?
Yeah,
They
invite the competition in. Exactly. Yeah. And I've had the opportunity, and Mark's been on the Shop Class podcast when some of those guys are on there. I mean, once you hear what I'm starting to get more confidence in where at the level of our program's doing. Trying to stay humble about things. And then you talk to these guys, and I'm like, dude, you won. Like, I am not mad if you are one of the only 17 winners that gets it, because your shop, and these guys are they're the ones I got to meet were on the welding and mechanic sides, and I'm just blown away. Yeah, I mean, there is, and getting connected with those guys, and they keep going. So what Harbor Freight actually does, they'll bring all those winners in, and they'll do like a brainstorming session. They fly them in. Pre-COVID, I know one of them, they flew them out to LA where they're at, and it's like bring the best teaching minds together, and they just run you through these exercises, get ideas and what they can do. And it's an impressive thing.
That's really cool. And it's nice to know that about Harbor Freight. We see them all over the place. I find myself in a Harbor Freight every once in a while looking for something as well. And to know that they have a whole philanthropy program for the youth is even more reason to go, spend my dollars there in my mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely. It's the outpouring for that next generation that's happens from big companies like this.
Right.
They could turn around and give bonuses, or they could do marketing instead. They're making sure that people have a tool in their hand and a place and someone to teach them how to use it.
That's right. That's right. Hey, next time, make sure that you put down that you will be on the BS Friday show with Mark and Dave, and it's one added bonus that you offer them to get some free shout outs in the world, right?
Oh yeah.
Win that money. Get a leg up on the other teachers. All right. Well, listen, everybody, we're at our time. Mark, what do you got for us, man? Anything you want to leave us with here today?
I wanna give thanks to the students that entered the program and that talk about the program. Many of Matt's students, Dave, share it on their Instagram. Some of them are Instagram icons. They have huge followings. I want to give a shout out to everyone in the junior high that get to spy on that program and get their feet in a pair of boots next year and get some slivers in their fingers. That's a great feeling to have. And then from the folks that join us every Friday, we're here so that this example and this story of Taylorville and Matt Blomquist and the kids gets out, so that you can bring it to your community, you can bring it to your family and friends, and we can have a generation that was given the opportunity that these kids were given. And we'll see you next Friday as we tell stories from a certain book that you might just know.
Dr. Seuss in the house. We'll see which one that becomes. But yeah, next Friday is always a fun day for us. Day before Christmas this year. It is the day before Christmas this year, and we'll be reading our annual Dr. Seuss book. All right. So, Matt, thank you so much. Thank you to your students. Will your students be with you at the International Builder Show?
Probably not. Because it's in Orlando. We're in Illinois. The logistics of taking students under 18 becomes a little harder. Now, I always tell my students once they graduate, and you're a full-blown adult and stuff, things become a lot easier. I mean, it would be great that, gosh, it's too bad there wasn't a bigger show like in Chicago or Indianapolis or something to bus the kids over to, But yeah, on this one, it'll be me. I think my wife may tag along. So she She's like, she wanted an opportunity to get out of the house, for a couple of days. So she may tag along too, and she'll enjoy walking around and stuff. And then
That's awesome.
whenever I have to go do whatever with all you guys.
Matt, that seems actually right though, because all the time you spend not only at the school, at the house, and then at all the events that your students perform, and you bring the kids and Carmen and everyone there, it's a perfect indicator of her being able to go with you to this event to meet and see all the people that you talk about and bring it forward, because that's an example in and of itself. It's the support that our family gives us to allow us to do the jobs we do.
Oh,
beautiful.
Absolutely. And she knows all your guys' names. I don't know if she knows all your faces yet, but she knows all your guys' names because it's a regular
dinner table conversation.
Or who you talking to? I'm like, it's Mark. Who's on the phone? It's Mark.
That's the same conversation. Who's on the phone? Mark. Mark's everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's not even like you couldn't even compare him to Waldo. Mark's just everywhere. Like, it's not where's Waldo, it's where's Mark.
Right. Yeah. Where is
so? Well, listen, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. You will see us tomorrow for Coffee with Dave, where we will go over this week's highlights and next upcoming programming for next week and the new year. We got a lot of fun stuff getting ready to happen. We got a lot of fun events happening. The week of January 15th is going to be interesting because we're going to be live streaming at different hours. We're going to be hitting up that European audience, which is going to be a little bit different. And we got a big European following, right, Mark? And that's what's fun about it. So we appreciate everybody across the pond and around the world. Matt, keep doing the great things that you're doing, and everybody else out there. We hope to see you next week, but we also understand that everybody's winding down for the year. And more importantly, it's time to spend with your family and your friends. Enjoy life a little bit, because we're going to hit it hard in 2022. Building science and systems building practices are going to be mainstream by the end of 2022. If I have my way, and I know if Mark has his way, we're going to speed up that 2030 commitment as well. All right, everybody. Mark, love you, man. Matt, we'll see you in a few. Don't go anywhere. Bye, guys.
Will.